Today we're going to dig into 7 secret military units, what they do, and how to become a part of them right now. Leading right out the gate with the Intelligence Support Activity, ISA, also known as the Activity, Gray Fox, Mission Support Activity, MSA. What they do. They are one of the most secretive organizations in the U.S. military. They support JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command, with intelligence before direct action missions. They conduct human intelligence, HUMINT, signals intelligence, SIGINT, surveillance, target development, and operational preparation. They often work alongside Delta Force and DevGru, but usually they're not kicking the doors, they're finding the doors that need to be kicked. Some interesting facts about this unit is that the Pentagon rarely acknowledges them publicly. They are organized from lessons learned during Operation Eagle Claw, which is the Iranian hostage rescue, and they frequently change names to maintain operational security within communication. Here's how you get in. You probably don't. They're usually recruited from experienced SOF personnel, Green Berets, Rangers, Delta, support, etc. However, exceptional intelligence professionals can also be recruited. Extensive background investigations are required, psychological screening, and they're extremely selective with their assessment and selection process. Think of it like this. If Delta Force is the scalpel, ISA is often figuring out exactly where to cut. Number 2, we've got 160th SOAR, the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, also known as the Night Stalkers. Now, what they do is they fly Special Operations forces anywhere in the world. They're experts in low-level, nighttime helicopter operations, exfil and infill. They support Delta Force, Rangers, Green Berets, SEALs, and other SOF units. They fly and operate modified MH-47 Chinooks, MH-60 Blackhawks, and Little Birds. If you've never seen a Little Bird, they're the tiny little helicopter that often has people just sitting with their legs out on the runners. Interesting fact, they were also created after the failed Iran hostage rescue. They flew during Black Hawk Down. They supported the Osama bin Laden raid, and their motto is Night Stalkers Don't Quit. How do you get in? Well, you enlist into a qualifying aviation MOS, or apply later. You must qualify for airborne and have a secret clearance in order to be eligible, and you have to pass the Night Stalker Assessment Unit training. If you want to sum it all the way up, the Night Stalkers are the reason that America's Special Forces can appear almost anywhere in the world in the middle of the night undetected. Number 3 is PSYOP, or Psychological Operations. What do these guys do? Well, they influence enemy behavior. They counter enemy propaganda. They support information operations. They work with foreign populations and partner forces. They blend psychology, marketing, communications, and military operations into one job. One example of a PSYOP is when we went into Fallujah in the early 2000s, they were the people behind airdropping pamphlets into Fallujah that basically said, "We're coming in, you should leave if you're not a bad guy." I actually ran into one of these guys in Afghanistan. This guy jumps in our truck once, full beard, just, looks like a local. He looked like I genuinely thought he was an interpreter at first. He looked like a local from Afghanistan in an army uniform, wasn't wearing rank, wasn't wearing name tapes, and he jumps in the truck, and we're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "First name." I'm not going to name him, but first name. And I was like, oh, this guy must be pretty cool. And we had to drive him somewhere. And so I learned throughout that, I actually still talk to him periodically on Facebook, that he was in PSYOPs. And he had basically been boots on the ground helping, I think he was helping build out a school, and he was working hearts and minds with the local populace. Some interesting facts. Modern PSYOP moves do include social media and digital influence. They often deploy alongside special forces, and their missions can prevent fighting rather than create it. So they're kind of like the sneaky guys on the ground that if they do their job right, you never know they were there, but they can influence behaviors and wars without having to kick indoors. How do you get in? So obviously you have to enlist or be an officer in the Army. You have to have a secret clearance. You have to have airborne qualification for active duty PSYOPs, and you have to complete the PSYOP qualification course. Basically, it's an MOS. It's a job. It's a very small one, but it's cool. Basically, to sum up their job would be the line, sometimes the best battle is the one that you convince the enemy not to fight. Number 4 here would be civil affairs. What do? They build relationships with civilian populations. They coordinate humanitarian efforts. They work with local governments. They restore infrastructure. They help stabilize areas again after combat. Some interesting facts is that they're often called the military's diplomats, right? They're essential during counterinsurgency operations, and they can directly influence mission success without firing a shot. How do you get into civil affairs? Basically, you join the Army, right? They're secret clearance eligibility, airborne qualification, and you have to complete the civil affairs qualification course. A line that would sum up what they do is winning the war often means winning the peace, meaning they stabilize what the rest of us probably could be considered unstabilizing. Number 5 is the RRC, Regimental Reconnaissance Company. They conduct long-range reconnaissance, advanced surveillance, target identification, special reconnaissance supporting JSOC missions, and they feed intelligence directly to those higher-level special operations units. These guys are actually a part of the 75th Ranger Regiment. As an interesting fact, there is extremely little amounts of public information that exists about them, and they're considered one of the Army's premier reconnaissance organizations. Now, how do you get in? Have to become a Ranger first, and then you have to have served successfully in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and basically you get selected internally, and then you have to pass an additional assessment. So basically, right place, right time, and don't be a piece of shit. To sum up what they do, they are often the first Americans on the ground, and yet nobody knows that they were ever there. All right, next up, we've got Marine Force Recon or Reconnaissance. They do deep reconnaissance. They do amphibious reconnaissance. They do maritime raids. They do battlefield surveillance. They support Marine Expeditionary Forces, the MEUs, Marine Expeditionary Units. Interesting fact, their famous motto is swift, silent, and deadly, and they're basically just distinguished from Marine Recon battalions by mission focus. Historically, they're one of the Corps' premier reconnaissance organizations. The way that you get in is you have to become a Marine, volunteer to try out for reconnaissance, right? Pass recon assessment and selection, so BRC, Basic Reconnaissance Course. Complete the Basic Reconnaissance Course, and then you have to do a bunch of additional advanced schools and everything depending on assignment. Basically, you go to recon to become a recon Marine, an 0321. And then within the reconnaissance community, you basically just try out for the force company, right? And so fun fact is that 1st Reconnaissance Battalion Force Recon Company, when they stirred up MARSOC, which is the Marine Special Operations Command, they basically plucked 1st Recon's Force Recon Company and said, boop, you guys are MARSOC now. So basically Force Recon is the direct action side of the reconnaissance units, is basically it's generally the best of the best within the recon community. The funny thing is that I know a couple of Force Reconnaissance Marines, and yet, even with talking to them, they stay fairly vague about what it takes to go from Recon Battalion to Force Recon Company. And number 7, we've got the Coast Guard Maritime Security Response Team, MSRT. What do? They do maritime counterterrorism, high-risk vessel boarding, hostage rescue, maritime interdiction, chemical, biological, and radiological responses. Some interesting facts is that they're often compared to a maritime SWAT team. They can deploy from helicopters or fast boats, and they work closely with other federal agencies. So how do you get in? Well, you join the Coast Guard, and then you build operational experience. You apply for tactical law enforcement, and then you have to pass the MSRT selection and advanced tactical training. So basically, the next time somebody jokes with you that the Coast Guard's not a real military branch, you might want to remind them that they literally have a counterterrorism assault team. And I'll be real with you, while they may not necessarily go forward deployed, the Coast Guard's MSRT are pretty freaking legit. They run some cool operations, and they probably see action on a more consistent basis than most of the unconventional military forces out there because they guard our borders.